Good morning and welcome to Northern Sun Mercantile. This video is going to be the first video in a series of videos documenting our broiler operation from chicks when they come into us 2 days old right up until the 8-week mark when we process them. We're going to go into detail on all of that, starting with this video. This video we're going to cover our brooder box setup, heat solutions, water, feed, and other things that you need to consider when starting broiler chicks. So this is one of our broiler boxes. There are two 4x6 boxes in this building. They're set up, they're wrapped with foam to keep the chicks warm. That's more important in cold weather. Right now it's early September. It is a little chilly, so I did put the lid on this one just to keep some of the heat in. We just got these chicks. They're 2 days old. Let's open the box and take a look. So we have, these are set up with a heat lamp, which we don't always use, but with it being a little chilly this morning, I did decide to turn the heat lamp on. We use a sweeter heater, which is a infrared unit. It does a really good job. There's only 32 chicks in here, and this is actually a small batch for us. We usually do 65 at a time. But they come in, these just arrived, they come in really thirsty, so we make sure that they have plenty of water and heat. That's important for the first few hours, kind of get them in, get them acclimated. Heat's important because, as you can see, they do really go after the water, so they're a little damp right now, and you don't want them to get a chill, so I'm not going to leave this open for very long. You want them to have plenty of room. Heat, optimal heat for chicks for the first couple weeks is 95 degrees to start with, and then dropping it down incrementally. But what we do is they have enough room to move away from the heat, and when I see that they're moving away from the heat, I will unplug that the heat lamp and let them spread out a little bit to get away from that. And then, once they're fully feathered, which, a week and a half or so, they're going to feathers are really going to start to come in, and you can see when they're getting a little too warm, and then you can just kind of monitor that and open up your box. You don't want them to get too hot, but you also don't want them to catch a chill either. It's especially important when it's cold weather. We start our birds, we start batches in March and run right up through November. So the beginning of the season and the end of the season, these insulated boxes are really important. You do not need to build, if you're just doing a few for yourself, you don't need to build a big setup to do these. You can do it in a stock tank. I've even done it in a cardboard box, a large cardboard box with a heat lamp. That you got to be very careful with the heat lamps. Make sure that it's not going to catch anything on fire because they are a fire hazard. They do make heat plates too, which we sometimes use. Infrared heat plate. It heats up the ceramic plate. Those work great if you're just doing a few. The infrared units, the sweeter heaters, they make those in different sizes too, and really for us, that's the ultimate heat solution. And like I said, I just supplement that with the heat lamps. Okay, so there's a few other things that you want to consider. We use pine shavings in the bottom of our brooder box. It just helps absorb stuff. We layer it, like if it gets, every batch gets cleaned out between batches, but we don't clean them out in the two and a half to 3 weeks that they're in here. If it starts to get a little wet, we add shavings on top and just kind of layer it that way. So that's one thing to consider. Another thing is the food. We feed a 22% broiler crumble from start to finish. We don't start them on starter and then switch them to something else. We've had really good luck with the Poulin broiler crumble, and that is what we use 100% now. We do add grit later when they move out to the field, and we'll cover that in the next video. Feed amounts too are something that you want to consider. We feed, so while they're in the brooder box, they essentially get all that they can eat for the first 2 weeks. Once they move out to the field, and of course we'll cover this more in more detail later, but we start to change their food a little bit and ration it essentially 12 hours on, 12 hours off. But for right now, they get all that they can eat. We start with a 3-pound feeder, and then maybe add another 3-pound feeder, and then upgrade that to a 10-pound feeder. But for right now, they get all that they can eat. Okay, so it's middle of the afternoon. We're just going to do a quick check on these guys and see how they're doing. I did open up the box a little bit earlier because it was getting a little warm in there. It's actually warmed up pretty nicely today. It's about 80 degrees out. So you just want to make sure that they're not too hot. Yeah, we'll open this up and see how these guys are doing. I have added a feeder at this point, which they've actually eaten quite a bit of it. They've settled in pretty nicely. They're all spread out in there. One more thing that I thought of, if you don't have them inside, like inside your house or in your garage where you have a light, and you're using a infrared plate or a sweeter heater, you want to make sure that you have a light somewhere in there so that they're not in the dark all the time. Obviously, if you're using a heat lamp, that would be perfectly fine as light too. But you just want to make sure that they do have light. So yeah, we'll check back on these guys in a couple weeks and get them moved out on the grass.